Hello everyone, it is Susan here from Susan Hiles Art. And as always, this Monday Crafty Chit Chat and Slow Stitching video is my favorite video of the week to make. But these days it's pretty much the only video of the week that I've been making. And I am good with that, at least through the summer probably. Of course, there is my occasional at least once a month video about my container garden, which you can find the videos here on this channel. So, all right, so my coaster is really coming along. I was sitting here watching, actually Recrafted by Carol, who is having a giveaway for 4,000 subbies. So congratulations, Carol. I think it's awesome. And yeah, so definitely go check out her channel if you would like to participate in her giveaway. So I've been working on my coaster, as you can tell. So as I was watching Carol's video, I'm sitting here and I'm sewing and I'm like, oh my gosh, I better put the camera on before I finish this thing. And I just want to finish it with all of you. So what I did while watching Carol was I did this blanket stitch here and then just stitched up here, yeah. And that's when I figured, well, let me turn the camera on because I don't have much left to go. But you'll notice from last week I was kind of fooling around with lace. And, you know, then I like looked in my little cubbies next to me and, oh gosh, you guys know I love Eyelet. I just love Eyelet. And I saw this white Eyelet staring me in the face and it was just perfect. Because of, I guess, a couple different reasons, I really liked it. Well, first of all, because it's eyelet trim. Secondly, because it was white, so it matched the background nicely of the fabric. But the other thing that I really liked, as you can tell, this particular trim, both edges of it are scalloped. Right? And I'm like, oh, well, that's going to look really nice on this side. So even the back side of it, I think looks really nice. And I found a way that I could get it on here. And I just liked the whole thing. The whole feel of it, I liked a lot. Again, I'm not super worried about the back, you know, because I'm not going to really see it much, but I mean, it's not awful. So I was happy with that. So I'm just going to keep stitching. And so like these blanket stitches right here that I literally just did a few minutes ago. Gosh, it took me like a minute. I'm like a pro at this whole blanket stitch now, I'm just going to say. Although I don't think I'm actually really putting it in the right spot because I do think it should somehow go over the edge, but in this case it's okay that it's not, because when I'm sewing on this trim I'm able to actually go from one side of the coaster to the other, and there's just enough room up top here above the blanket stitch to where I can do a stitch into the trim. And it's just kind of working out because I decided I wanted to do that and close off the very rough edge. So I'm just going to continue with what I was doing, and it might be a little shadowy in here. It is raining out. It's you know, a dark day, a bit gloomy, but definitely, you know, it's cooler. It's the rain, you know, of course, is a good thing. And it's kind of nice to have a day where I don't feel like I need to be out doing things. So it is Saturday, and normally I make these videos Sundays, but I don't know. Like I said, I sat down, I started watching Carol's video, and the next thing I know, I'm like, well, let me just turn the camera on and we can finish this together. Because what I want to do next Monday is get back to the 3.5 by 3.5 inch squares that eventually I'll do something with, right? So it was these here, and I'm making them all different, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with them. But for now, I'm just trying to use up some of my scraps. So, I mean, I could make probably, I don't know, 100, 200 of these. Probably still have scraps left over. But it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. All right. So now when and I am going to be putting, you know, the trim on these two sides as well. But I need to get these pieces of fabric stitched down first. And then the last step is to add the trim. So like what I would like to try to do at this point is go right into the blanket stitch here, but that would be backwards to me, and I'm not even going to attempt it because I'm learning a lot about the blanket stitch. And one of the things for me, I think I mentioned last week, is the direction that I'm going. You know, it's that head of mine that, I don't know, it just has to make sense in my head when I'm doing this stitch. And I just need to be going in one direction. The same direction. I need to go from right to left, which is probably backwards, but it works for me. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. All right, so I just knotted that off, and so now I'm in really good shape. The only thing that I need to do before I can put on the last two edges of trim is to do the blanket stitch right around here, and that's the direction I need to go in. I need to start here and go that way. And so what I've learned, this is sticking to my sweater. I actually have a sweater on today. That's how cool it is today. But like I said, it's a nice cool. It is. So what what helps me, actually, I should say, to be able to do this rather quickly now is knowing two things. The first is that for where you have to be aware of where you want this more straight edge, right? Because where you come up, where you start, that's where the straighter edge is going to be. And for this, I want it towards the top. And then the second thing that just does it for me and makes total sense is I just have to remember to keep holding the thread, in my case, to the left, and then it all just kind of works. So knowing those two things, I've got it down. Now, does that mean 2 months from now, if I don't do this stitch again in a couple of months, will I remember all of this? Maybe not. But, you know, for right now, today, it totally makes a lot of sense to me. Now, that first stitch I did, I think, way too high because, remember, I do want to be able to come in and do these little stitches to stitch down that trim. So I'm just going to kind of go a little bit lower at this point, leaving just a tad more room up top. Yep. And So, like I said, it is raining, and oh, I'd love to look outside when it's like this. And like what it does is it gives me a day where I don't have to think about watering my container garden, right? Because, you know, it will be nicely watered just because of the rain. And so it gives me a little bit of a break on having to go outside to water. And I love to water. That's one of the reasons I enjoy gardening so much, is because I enjoy standing out there in the morning, just me and the plants, right? And just relaxing. And I have probably close to 30 containers at this point. And I will probably have at least another 20 more. One of them actually being a raised bed. So that will have multiple, multiple plants in it, veggies in it. And so I would have had even more containers if I didn't have my raised bed, but I do. And so, yep. So I will probably have about 50, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, probably about 50 containers in my garden. And that's 50, yes, 50. And the raised bed. And I have other raised beds, but they're not put together. And I'm thinking that for this year, for right now, that's enough. I don't, you know, I don't feel the need right now to have another raised bed because, well, it costs money, right? Because you need to fill it with something. So you can't have a raised bed without soil, right? Even though I did put old sticks and leaves in it, it still needs a good amount of soil. So, yeah. So for this year, I'm just going to go, I think, with the one raised bed. And I'm going to plant, I don't know, several different things in it. But yeah, so like I was saying, on a day like today, like look at that. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? I love it. Love, love, love. So on a day like today where the rain is, it's not a super soft rain, but it's not a hard rain by any means. So it's just the kind of rain that is just kind of like there for the day, right? I woke up, it was wet out, and it's still raining, and it has been for hours, and it's just going to be like this, I would assume, the majority of the day. And then we're back to sun tomorrow. And then I'm going to be able to plant my tomatoes and my cucumbers and my peppers, because when I look at the weather forecast, it's like 70s and 80s starting tomorrow. Like, yeah, so it's like time. It's basically time to where I can get those seeds in the ground or in my garden, in my containers. Okay, so there we go. So now that's the end of that color, which I love, the beautiful, beautiful teal. And now let's cut the next piece of trim. And so all I'm going to do is let's go ahead and pin this on. And we'll get sewing. So I'm using, what am I using and where did my needle go? Oh, it's in the back here. Because I still had some thread on it to where I could sew a little bit further. And yeah, okay. So So what I'm going to do to start this is basically just come up from underneath. So now that this piece of trim is now sewn to this piece of trim, just by me doing that. And then I'm going to start where I come in. I'll show you. So all I'm doing is a quick little stitch where I'm coming in from the bottom. You know, an overcast stitch is really what it is. And then from the bottom, I'm going down into the trim to give it a nice closed edge where everything comes together. The two pieces of fabric with the batting in between, it closes it off nicely. What I did find when I was sewing on this piece over here was that as I was sewing, the trim became crooked. And normally that doesn't bother me, but in that case it definitely did. And every once in a while as well, I do end up going like underneath the blanket stitch, and you can tell that, like when I do this, you can see that I went over the blanket stitch. I'm trying not to do that, but every once in a while I feel like I have to, because sometimes I can't do a stitch low enough that I feel like I'm really making it strong, because I have like these little tiny stitches up here. So every once in a while I'm going to do like a little bit of a longer stitch just to make sure that it's really all holding together. So now I need to knot this off. I think I'm going to take that needle out, and I'm just going to, I think, go, I don't know. I'm not, let's see, I think I'll just go through and then I'll knot it underneath. Okay, so I'll continue with that color. This pearl thread, this is almost done. I think it's going to be my first ever pearl thread that I'm going to finish the whole thing. So I assume it's my most used color, right? Then this color is probably next, and then of course white. I use a lot of black as well, but these three are definitely my most used. But then it's fun for me to pull out a color like this that's just gorgeous, and I may not get to use very often. And so when I do get an opportunity to use this beautiful teal, I'm like all over it. All right, so there we are, all threaded up. And I'm just going to go back in from underneath where we basically just ended. And I'm just going to start the stitching again, the overcast stitching. And once I do this side with this trim, then I just need to do the last side, the last edge over here, and it's done. You know, I can't do, like I thought about, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have pretty buttons on here and that kind of thing? And no, you know, I can't. It's a coaster. It has to be flat. And I don't want my drink tipping over, so I do have to keep it flat for sure. All right, trying not to pull too tight, but I want to pull tight enough, but I don't want it to pucker. And what else? What else is going on in life? I I went to lunch with a friend who I've known. Well, she's a friend that I met at church almost, I'd say, 25 years ago. And, she's one of those friends. She doesn't live far, but she's one of those friends that I may not see all the time, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, because as soon as we're together, we're just friends. We're just friends, and we're sisters in Christ, right? So, so we met on Tuesday this week to go to lunch. We went to a restaurant called Outback. I don't know if you guys have an Outback near you. But oh my gosh, I don't know how long we were there, an hour and a half-ish, maybe, I don't know. And it was just such good conversation, laughing and just getting caught up on each other's lives. It's been, I don't know, a little bit since I've seen her, not too long, but probably too long, right? But when she asked me to go to lunch, I'm like, yes, let's go. I have another friend. He happens to be a guy, but he's not like, we're just friends. And I've also known him for the same amount of time, and so almost 25 years. And I had plans to meet him for lunch. I don't know. Gosh, is it 3 weeks ago now? 4 weeks? 3 weeks probably. And it happened to be on a Saturday where something important came up with my father, and I had to cancel that lunch date. And yeah, so I need to reschedule that and go out with him. And last week, like over a week ago, I went out with a friend from my old job. So I don't know, if I can go out, even, I don't know, I say once a week for lunch with a friend. I guess that's a good plan to have. So, yep. So that's what I've been up to as far as that goes. And I'm going to cut the last side. So let's do that. But as far as work goes, you guys aren't going to believe this, but I have like 3 hours left. I have a meeting on Monday, which will probably take a full hour, and then that's it. So even though I have a couple of hours still left after that, we're just going to have it to where, if something comes up where they absolutely, like, they have a question for me, I still have, like, it might be a 10 or 15 minute question here and there. And, I would just use that time, those, last couple hours, for their questions as they're going through stuff. And yeah, so anyway, yep. So I really just have Monday, today, the day this video goes out, for an hour meeting, and then that's it. So unless they text me, like once I log off of the computer today, meaning Monday, yeah, I'm putting it away in my room. And, unless they text me, I'm not going to think too much about work at all. And because as far as I'm concerned, I'm really basically done. If I were totally honest, I'm sure I've already worked those last few hours. It's just I haven't counted all of my time because, I want to to do my best by them, and I want them to succeed in the project. And yeah, so like even late yesterday, which was Friday, so you know, my old boss, he's like, can we talk? And we were on the phone for an hour. Some of it was work, some of it was us just chatting. And, you know, but for an hour. And, you know, I'm not going to count any of that. You know, I wouldn't count the chatting part anyway, but the work part of it, I'm not going to, you know, he had a question for me when we went through a bunch of stuff. And, you know, it is what it is. I don't have to do it. I don't feel pressured to like have to speak with him. It's not that at all. It's just I know he's not going to ask me a question unless he really is stuck. So knowing that, I know that if he's going to reach out to me, he really needs assistance. And, you know, a lot of the times, most of the times, I can give him an answer right off the bat without even having to think about it. Sometimes, you know, it's just natural to me, and where they could really struggle and mess up the whole project. And then, you know, if you've ever worked on a project and as soon as you really mess up, then it's hard to recover from that, because it's just hard to recover in the way of because you're now fixing things, right? And it just becomes difficult to do that, because it's hard to get out of that cycle of getting it fixed and corrected and like it should have been in the beginning, you know. So anyways, so, you know, yeah, so I'm going to leave, well, about 2 hours on the table, which again, really aren't even there. But that's what I'm going to go with. That's what I told him I would do, where those last 2 hours, as needed, a few minutes here and there, you know, I would talk with them. So that's the scoop. So I finally, and then next year in 2024, you know, I know the project's going to still be going on, a different phase of it, but the same project. And so if they need me, that's good. And then I can work some more hours. So that's the scoop. That's the scoop. Yeah, yep. All right, we're just about done here. Just about done. And I've really been proud of myself as far as not spending money on any more fabric, that kind of thing. Like whenever I get the, you know, I get the urge to like go to the local, the local fabric store. I'm like, no, don't go. I talk myself out of it because I don't need anything. I have so much, and I just want to use what I have. And so it's been good in that respect. All right, so that's going to be it. I mean, I could put a few stitches like to get that down, and right here, so like on the corners I could put a few stitches, but I'm not planning on it at the moment because, well, it's going to be sitting flat. And even the back side, oops, we got a little string hanging there, is looking good. I'll have to tie that and cut it. Yeah, I'll just clean up the back. I got strings everywhere, which is normal, right? But I don't know what I did there. I didn't pull something through all the way. So I think it actually is already knotted, but I'll make sure that that's knotted and I'll cut that off. So then the back of it is reasonable, right? And then the front of it, oops. I always have to look at the owl to know which way is the right side up. All right, so what's going to happen then? So this is done. That's my little coaster. That's my little coaster. And I like it, and I think it looks girly and frilly and happy and all that good stuff. So I'm happy with that. And so that's going to go on the table next to my chair. And then, so the next thing we're going to do next week is continue with these. And since I have this little piece, I'm sure I'll get it sewn on to that. So I use this up. I don't need this little piece in my stash. And so maybe this will be my jumping off point, right? I'll make sure I have a 3.5 by 3.5 square, and then, you know, I'll go with this as my kind of theme for that square, and we'll go from there. So we'll look through my fabrics and stuff together next week, and we'll figure out a color scheme. I mean, I have pink, I have the black and the yellow. You know, maybe we'll do, I don't know that I want to do another teal. I don't know, but I'm just kind of looking at this piece of fabric, which I really like. So maybe I'll do something like with this. So it has a bit of purple. So maybe we'll go down that route. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Who knows? We will see. We'll see what I feel like next week when we actually sit to do, you know, to pull out the fabrics together. And so that is it. So let me know how you're all doing, what you're working on craft-wise, whether it's a journal, you know, something paper crafted or something fabric crafted or painting or whatever it is that you enjoy doing. Let me know what you guys are up to. So that's it for today, and I will see you next Monday. All right, have a blessed week. All right, bye-bye.